Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Heartwell dev stream, the live stream series where I continue to develop this adorable Souls-like action RPG with platforming mechanics and a branching narrative. If you find these dev streams interesting or helpful, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and boot that bell button to stay notified. Now, of course, in the last couple of dev streams, we've been working on some new tile sets, and we're making good progress so far. We've got various containers here, some barrels, some metal canisters, a bunch of boxes and shelves. We're going to be continuing with some of that this stream. Hello, Copper Nicholson. Thanks for dropping by. How's it going, dude? Welcome, welcome. Ah, I see. Well, I guess it is around that time of year, isn't it, to take care of stuff for one's vehicle. I actually just took my car into the dealership for the annual inspection and made sure to get the oil changed. So, I get that. It's around that time. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Were you guys able to fix it? So according to my notes, we're working on stuff involving cranes. Yep, here we are. I think for, let's see here. Alright, chat. We need to draw a bucket. Let's try something like that. There we go. Well, I wish you all the best with fixing that, Copper. Oh, you know what, chat? I just realized something. What if we made this like some sort of almost like a claw? Like it has, we'd have this around here. So that way to like pick things up and drop them down. Let's say delete this. Raise that a bit. Yeah, I think that honestly could work. What are we doing? Oh, whoops. Alright, better idea. Instead of like a claw or something, instead we go for a magnet. So, move this around, put that around. Something like that. I think that'll work at least for an outline. So as for let's see here. Oh, well, I mean, what's going on, Copper Nicholson? I mean, what do you mean by that? Do you mean like they're... Do you mean they're terminally ill, or is that not what you're getting at? Oh, well, that's awful. I'm sorry to hear that, Copper Nicholson. Well, Copper, at that point, all I'd say is just listen to your friend and see what they're going through and just be there for them as best you can. That's about all you can do at that point. Okay. I think that'll do for a magnet. Let's see here. We have train with that magnet. Alrighty. Alright, I think that's enough of at that point, Copper. So, what else is new? Well, just be respectful of whatever she wishes, Copper Nicholson. If she wants to be left alone, leave her alone. But if she's interested in that, then, you know, then spend time with her writing stuff. We do still need an excavator bucket. Maybe if we draw it like from a front down angle. Oh, I really enjoyed the Volume 9 finale. Honestly, I think Volume 9 was one of the strongest volumes we've had in a while, and that's kind of interesting to say, because at the outset I was more so like trying to play it by ear, be like, okay, it's a bit of an out there concept. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But for what it's worth, I think they handled this volume very, very well. It's definitely become one of my favorites. I still think Volume 7 is still my overall favorite, but Volume 9's up there. It did a lot of things right with the with the short amount of time it had. Alright. I mean, were they uncomfortable topics? Sure, Copper Nicholson, but I think they were important topics to cover, especially given everything that was happening in the series at that point. And the finale is really good. Okay, that looks a bit more what I expect for that. I really fail to see what you're talking about there, Copper Nicholson. The reaction, if you're talking about like the way John reacted to Ruby, it was completely justified. Like, both of them had perfectly valid reasons to say the things they said, even if it hurt them both. And I'll also mention, Copper Nicholson, that those episodes do have, I think they do have content warnings. Which is to say, if you decide to watch it even with the content warnings, you know, that's on you at that point. It does. I think that has everything to do with just the unique nature of the Ever After, Copper Nicholson. Copper, if she was a part of Salem's group, she would most certainly have been privy to some of that knowledge. At the very least, Cinder would have probably brought it up. And it's not necessarily that they're dead either, Copper Nicholson. It's that they definitely had an impact on Ruby's view of things. And Neo was trying to use that for psychological manipulation. Like, again, it's not necessarily that she knew that each one of those characters was dead. More so that Neo was trying to do everything she could to break Ruby's spirit. I mean, Neo would have known that Clover was dead because, again, Tyrion. So she was part of Cinder's group, so was Tyrion. She would have been privy to that knowledge. Not to mention the Aesops brought it up multiple times. It's not... Let's see here. And again, that's why I was saying, Copper, it's not necessarily that Neo knew that all those characters died. Like, in the case of Ironwood, it's very obvious, like, Neo would have known that Ruby, at least for a time, worked with Ironwood, and Ironwood's whole point was trying to save Atlas, and that Ruby, you know, by trying to evacuate Atlas, was also trying to save Atlas. Therefore, using Ironwood as a reminder of Atlas is a pretty safe bet, I'd say. Let's go with something a little bit darker. Okay, that should do. All right, so we got that. Okay. Move this over here. There we go. Let's add a little rail. There we go. Right. Got rail for that, and got these things. So, whoops. In theory, we could do something like this. Yep, perfect. Okay, that's metal slide. Easy enough. Right. I remember playing some of the Arkham games. How come Copper Nicholson? Have you started playing them? I don't remember. Oh, Detective Vision. You mean when Batman opens up his gear and looks through things? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm not sure if that was from the show or not, but it was definitely used frequently in the games to justify Batman being able to inspect things and piece things together. It's probably better without it. Okay, let's see. So you have that. You have metal slide. Metal chains are done. Next, some open wooden containers. Ah, that makes sense. Pretty much every character in the Assassin's Creed games has something similar called Eagle Vision, so there's that. Okay, so let's start with the boxes. This box over here shall be our guinea pig. Let's move it here. Alright. Actually, what am I thinking? We don't need that box specifically, we just need the frame outline. This. So, delete everything else. Literally everything else is secondary. Okay. So first things first, scrap metal. So that means we need just a bunch of random nonsense. So the easiest way to make random nonsense would be grab that, create a noise effect, grayscale that, adjust the color, up the contrast. Oh, that one's better. Let's see here. Okay, now that we have that as a base, let's make some outlines. So... Right, I think that looks like it. But just to check. See how... how that looks. Oh yeah, that looks good. At least for scrap metal. Oh nice, are you going for a run, Copper Nicholson? I think that's would be bricks. What is this? Read a message as million. We got a #1 victory royale! Yay! Fortnite is about to happen. We got something on the board right now, and we just wiped out Tomato Town. Oh, my friend just got down. I revived him. Now we're heading southbound. Now we're in the pleasant and park streets. Look at the map. Go to the marked sheet. Take me to your red spots to play Fortnite today. You can... And take me to Loot Lake. We can be pro Fortnite gamers. Also, Crow is not here. Oh, whoa. How dare you, Topper Nicholson. How dare. Alright, that looks like it works. Right, we have our bricks. Next one. I think this one should be fairly easy since it's just a color change. First things first. That down one. Some play. This one, if we change the color a little bit, it can be dirt or sand. Yep, there's some sand. Read a message as Toa. Ouch, my teeth. My teeth are red hot. Rain, you weren't using the oven to bake salads. You were heating up my teeth to give me the old spicy tea chain. How did you give your own girlfriend the spicy tea chain, Rain? You are meant to destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness. Roses are red, violets are blue. Ew. Because I loved you, Rain. The same way Ruby Rose enjoys Volume 9. Alright, so let's see. There's some sand, there's some clay. Even add some dirt here if we really want to. Nope, there's some dirt. Yep. That's enough about that, Copper Nicholson. Alright, well, we are making good progress here with some of the tile sets. Now I just need one with rocks. Alright. Oh, what happened with Jedi Survivor, Copper Nicholson? I think the preload's available now. Oh, really? That's interesting. Alright, chat, we've created a lot of new tile sets. So that means the next thing to do is to add it to the tile editor. So I'm going to take a quick break, chat, and when we come back, we'll be going to the tile editor and starting to play some of these tile sets. So don't go anywhere, guys. I will be right back. Alright, chat, welcome back, everybody. So, I was thinking it over, and there's actually a few more tile sets I would like to draw before we get into place some more items. So first, we'll say damaged walls. Cracked brick. Walls missing bricks. Dirt background. Stone background. There we go. So we have, yeah, as I was saying, we need just some damage, things like that. Fairly certain we have wooden shells already, right? Oh yeah, we had to because of drew the books earlier. Yep, they're there. Okay. Alrighty. In order to make damaged brick walls, we first need the brick walls themselves, which look like this. I'll do this on layer 2. Alrighty.
I'll tell you the truth.
First idea, chat, is to do the one where bricks are missing.
So I'm realizing we don't need that many tiles for that. We just have the pattern and use that as our baseline. Alright, with a stone background. Alright, that makes the effects work. Yep, looks like this part's missing. Read a message as Sarah. I have an idea for a brand new sitcom TV show that I'm going to pitch to the Airbonian TV network. It's called Taurine, and here is the theme song. Oh, a newlywed couple just moved to town, a regular husband and wife who left the big city to find a quiet life. Taurine. She's a magical gal in a small town locale. He's a hubby who's part machine. How will this duo fit in and pull through? Oh, by sharing a love like you've never seen. Toa and Reen. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. How dare you, Copper Nicholson? How dare you make a WandaVision reference like that? How dare? How dare? I don't foresee that happening, Copper Nicholson. Do you even remember the lore of Trails of Cold Steel, Copper Nicholson? Toa is not a battle mage, whereas that would be Emma, first of all. Right. I'll do the something to work with. Yeah, that's the thing we need is damage. So I think we go with this. Cut it down a bit. Well, we'll see what happens in the Trails of Cold Steel games, Copper Nicholson, since that's what's actually canon here. Alright, now I feel like we're going somewhere. Alright, that's a wall that's thoroughly damaged. Now, let's see if we can't. The version that's like partial. I don't remember those movies being particularly good, Copper Nicholson. I don't think it's that the market doesn't exist for that kind of a story. I just think those movies didn't do it particularly well. Whereas Spy Family, the anime, has done it very well. Hello, the Arch Guy. Thanks for dropping by, dude. How's it going? Welcome, welcome. Long time no see. Right now we're making some tile sets for Heartwell. What's new with you? Alright, glad to hear you're doing well. Just waiting for Jazz Survivor, to be honest. Fair. Fair. Speaking of which, I did see that we're actually allowed. It's
it's currently April 25th, and apparently on PC, you're able to begin preloading Jedi Survivor on April 25th. I asked my question to you all, chat, is should I try to have a the start of the Jedi Survivor stream sometime this Friday, probably like starting at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or something like that. Because it would be cool to play the game on the day that it releases, or at least to stream it so we can start the challenge run. Since don't get me wrong, I love the Heartwell dev streams, but it definitely would be nice to get back into the swing of things with the challenge runs series. Or if not Friday, should I just wait until next Tuesday to start it? Launches at 9 p.m. the day before your time, but you won't have time to play it then. Ah, fair enough. Well, I might have time this Friday, that's why I was bringing it up. I'm very excited for it. Not quite, Copper Nicholson. So current thoughts for the rule set is going to be no upgrading anything and blaster stands only. That does not mean I can't use the lightsaber. It just means I can't upgrade, like use the still trees at any point, and I can't use any other stance unless the one caveat would be if we don't start with the blaster stance, then I would default to using the one saber stance until we have access to the blaster stance. And the moment blaster stance is available, I can't use anything else. You don't start with the blaster stance though. Okay, fair. And that's why I was saying, like, so before we get blaster stance, I would start with the single lightsaber, just because if you think about it, the blaster stance is just the single lightsaber stance with, you know, a blaster on the other hand. So probably single lightsaber would be the closest you could get without it, without the blaster stance. We'll just call it blaster stance light or something. The blaster stance minus the actual blaster. So it's just stance. And then the moment we have blaster stance, we can't use anything else. Now, I understand they'll probably balance out the damage or something differently with the single stance versus blaster stance anyway, but still, I think that's probably the closest you'd be able to get without actually doing that. Or at least that would be my current thought. And then, for all we know, it could be... is there any indication as to how late in the game you have to get before you unlock blaster stance, the Archguy, or is that not really apparent at this point? I think, to be fair, the game's not out yet, so probably speculation. My guess is if you don't, there's probably going to be a story reason to get the blaster stance, just like there'd probably be a story reason to get the Kylo Ren stance, or I think it's called like the power stance or something like that. Yeah, you're not sure, but what you do know is that in New Game Plus, you'll start with all stances. I mean, that makes sense. This is New Game Plus, but we're doing this from a New Game run, not a New Game Plus run, so we have to work with that assumption. Yeah. Though the other thing is, if there's some way to charge the blaster without actually, like, dealing damage with the lightsaber that's rechargeable in some capacity, that might tempt me to try avoid using the lightsaber altogether, at least for dealing damage, but we'll see. Oh. That's why it's called a crossguard stance? Okay. Well, we have our various...
that. I am thinking we might want a sand variant though. What are you most looking forward to if Jedi Survivor the Archdive? For me, it's just I can't wait to see what they do with the level design in this game, because the first game already had really good Metroidvania level designs for the area, so I'm really curious to see what other plans they do and how they all tie on. How's Heartwell coming along? Great question, the Archdive. It's actually coming along quite nicely. So right now, I have both boss battles, at least the fights themselves, programmed for the demo. I have all the enemies placed. That'll be in the tutorial dungeon. I have all the doors placed, all the keys placed, all the items placed. They're all collectible. They all work correctly. So really, the Archdive, the main things we're focusing on right now is, well, one thing is just finishing all the tile mapping. So obviously we're not going to have all this here. We need to make sure that it looks more like this, but definitely with a bit more character to it than just sparse walls if we can help it. So definitely one priority is finishing that. I've been very busy working on music in the background to include with the game, and as I've outlined it, I think I need a total of about 8 songs, I'd say. I'd say 4 of them fully composed already. 2 of them were composed before I took a music composition class, so I'll want to do some updates to them. And I think 2 more I need to actually create from scratch or modify from some old ideas I had. So that's where the music is. Beyond that, I've actually... Are you using a DAW, and if so, which one? Great question. I am using Cakewalk by BandLab. And I have a bunch of other free plugins that I've used to get various sounds that I wanted. Beyond that, let's see. Beyond that, I need to create a save file system. I've actually written all the there's quite a bit. There's a decent amount of dialogue in the demo, so I've written all of that. Though I do still need to write some a good chunk of the lore bits. So when I say dialogue, I mean stuff where like characters talk to each other or things like that. Whereas the lore bits are mostly Dorothy observing things or commenting about things. So I still have some lore bits, right? But like, I'm pretty sure all or most of the dialogue for the demos run at this point. Which basically just leaves the save file system and the associated main menu UI to create and develop from that. How would I describe the soundtrack? Good question. I would say celestial, kind of like Daisy at the Night Sky. Orchestral, and generally or it's a celestial, orchestral, hints of adventure, and melancholic. Those would be the 4 words I would generally I'd say melancholic, but usually uplifting. Those would be the words I would generally use to describe the soundtrack, at least from an emotional standpoint. No, Copper Nicholson, there's no cheat codes. It's a Souls-like game, Copper Nicholson. You've played those. There's no cheat codes in Souls-like games. Or at least not like the Dark Souls trilogy or anything like that. Alright, so we got that. Alright, now. Let's save a copy. So all in all, the Irish guy, I really do feel like I'm on track to release the demo for Heartwell sometime this year. I just don't know when exactly this year, but I am getting there. And I think I've posted some more recent updates in the past month or two on the Discord server and the Heartwell updates channel to go into a bit more details about where we're at right now and what's left. You never play a Souls-like. That is not true, Copper Nicholson. You have played Dark Souls 1. That is a Souls-like. It's in the name. Like romantic style, orchestral, or a little more intimate. What? I think I know what you mean, the Irish guy, but you go into a little more. What would be some examples of each of those? When you say romantic style orchestral, are you talking like from the 1800s? You know, where you have like a full orchestra, think like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, that symphony, stuff like that. Or is that not what you mean when you say romantic style orchestral? Ah, okay, so it's not that. It's more so, when I say orchestral for Heartwell, it definitely leans into that first word I used to describe it, celestial. So it'll feel, again, kind of like staring up into the night sky, or into like a dark cave or things like that. So it'll definitely have a... So definitely, like, it uses orchestral instruments and stuff, but it is not a romantic style orchestration, if that made sense. I know without actual... When you guys actually get the chance to listen to it, you'll hear what I mean. Do you not remember, Copper Nicholson wielding like a pyromancy flame in one hand and a crossbow in the other hand to fight the Tauros demon? I distinctly remember you trying that. Anyway, thanks for the questions about the music, though, the Irish guy. Are you composing music as well? But like instrumentation-wise, you're just curious about if you will have smaller or larger ensembles and what kinds of instruments. Okay. I'd say most of the songs make do with about 3 to 4 instruments, so they actually tend to not use too many instruments. With the one exception so far being the main theme. That main theme, I'd have to check, but I think it's somewhere more towards like 8 or 9 instruments, with some of those instruments being like an ensemble of cellos or things like that. Or like an ensemble of horns or such. But in general, most songs have 1 to 2 instruments that act as the melody, 1 instrument that's a harmony, and 1 instrument that's the bass. And alright, well that I think that might have happened to Copper Nicholson. You also had this one particular, I think it was called the S-Stock. It was a thrusting style sword that you seem to really enjoy, at least for the time. You're not composing anything, you're a music nerd, especially with regards to game strategy, so I was wondering what kind of approach you were taking. I see. Alright, well, let's see what kind of approach I was taking to develop music. So, when I first was trying to make the soundtrack, I was just coming from the perspective of only having sung for many, many years, but never actually composed anything. So I started from that perspective and did okay-ish, but it wasn't quite satisfying enough to me, so I decided that to take, I think it was, I'll say, summer of last year, I took a
a music theory class, and that helped a lot, like a lot. The difference between the songs I was able to compose before and after the music theory class were night and day. You should sing your OST if you still can. I can still sing, but I don't foresee needing to sing in the OST just because it doesn't really match what I'm going for, at least at this present time. I don't know, maybe my opinion will change as I'm developing the full game, but at least for the demo, I don't foresee myself singing anything. In terms of the instruments I've tended to favor, so I'd say the instruments I've definitely favored so far with composing the soundtrack are number one, probably the thing I've used the most is I'd say the marimba, followed very closely by the celesta. And that's because the marimba just works so well as like a it's very versatile as an instrument. It can work quite well as like the underlying bass if you need that, or in some situations I use it as a mix between the harmony or the melody to kind of support the notes I'm going for, because it can give that sort of an impact to it. The Celestia, similar thing, but more so for melodies. I like the Celestia. It's a very pretty sounding instrument, and it definitely gives the feeling of like gazing up into the stars or things of that effect. Let's see what else. That's an interesting combo. Fair enough. I mean, to be fair, I don't know if I necessarily use those instruments all like in the same stuff. So in addition to that, other instruments I've leaned heavily on are an ensemble of cellos. I've leaned on using, I think it was, I want to say either French horns or alto trombones. Some ensemble of brass instruments. Especially with the main theme, there's a very strong presence with, I think it's from French horns, for much of the melody. Other instruments, one that kind of surprised me, but I kind of grew to love after I learned music theory, was the harp. Like in two songs in particular, I've really used the harp. Shall we say, ranges of the harp you don't normally hear. Like in the song I most recently composed, it's more of a song that makes you makes you think and ponder. And in that song, I actually use almost like the lowest strings on the harp, so it doesn't really sound like a harp. It sounds more like an acoustic guitar at that point. But it fits with what I was going for. And let's see, besides the harp, piano. I use piano quite a bit, and on top of that, there's some of the songs have miscellaneous synth instruments, such as the synth mallet or other things like that. Harp and cello or viola is a powerful duo. True. Very true. I don't know if I've gone quite there yet. But it's something to think about, for sure. Seen some edits I will have to make. 1 second, Jet. Looking forward to seeing what I come up with. Thanks, the Arch Guy. I appreciate it. I hope you all enjoy the soundtrack once available. Rest assured, when the soundtrack is available, like when the demo's released, my intent is somewhere on the YouTube channel there'll be like a playlist for all the songs I've composed for Heartwell thus far. So you'll all be able to listen to them independently of the demo as you see fit. Ah, there it is. Okay. Is there any particular composer or anything that inspired you? Great question. I don't think it's like there's any like one person that can be like, hey, this is where it all comes from. But in terms of like composers I usually think of when I was composing this music, I think of Toby Fox just a little bit with like the Undertale soundtrack. I think of I think for the marimba especially, what makes me always gravitate to that is a song that I really liked listening to on Newgrounds called That Strange Noise, that was composed by Danny Schneidmesser. I might be saying that name incorrectly, but Danny Schneidmesser was, he composed With Gun and Crucifix, he composed in the Stronghold, he composed That Strange Noise. And you have to be saying, what are all these songs, Anton? Well, a lot of these songs were used in some pretty famous Flash games. For example, Entering the Stronghold is the background music that you famously hear when playing Stick War. Or That Strange Noise is the song that plays in the final puzzle to Riddle School 5. And That Strange Noise especially really uses the marimba to great effect to complement its orchestral composition. It's a really, really powerful song. Beyond that, I'd say just music I used to listen to from older video games when I was younger. So like the Sonic the Hedgehog series, some old RPGs like Shining Force, stuff like that. The Archetype, I'd say for the most part would be the main music inspirations. Oh, and I can't leave out, I'd say Trails of Cold Steel's soundtrack is excellent too. Like, so many orchestral vibes that I listen into and feel like I convey the emotions so well. Okay. You got really bored of the game, but the soundtrack was one thing really tried. Oh, you mean the Trails of Cold Steel? I mean, fair enough. I think the thing about Trails of Cold Steel 1 especially, Trails of Cold Steel 1 feels very much like a visual novel that happens to have RPG elements in it, whereas Trails of Cold Steel 2, I think, does a better job of actually leaning into the, the gameplay part of the gameplay part of it as opposed to the visual novel. But I can get that. I understand. Yeah, Cold Steel is a lot of reading. That was something I noticed a lot, very much up front. There is a lot to read. But I think what definitely kept me playing Cold Steel, besides the challenge runs, is that they do a really, really good job with their world building and their character writing and the story arcs. Like, I found, like, the writing and world building especially kept me coming back. Like, even now, like, I still get chills thinking about just like staring off into space and just thinking over Trails of Cold Steel 2's stories and just how powerful of an impact its message is. Like, it's been how many months now, and I still go back to thinking about it. Like, that's the mark of a game that really sticks with you. But like that one especially, I think just only stuck with me for a while. So I almost wonder if Trails of Cold Steel had been made in a time where I guess reading a lot of stuff was more commonplace than it is now. Now, don't get me wrong, people still read, of course. But I mean, like, if we go back even like 50 years, my guess is you'd probably end up reading a lot more in general. And if Trails of Cold Steel, well, if video games even do that back then, perhaps people will be more interested because more people will be used to reading lots of things. Worldbuilding was alright, but you felt that most of the characters were super generic, especially Rain. Question the Arch guy. Have you played through Trails of Cold Steel 1 to its completion? Because, like, how far did you get in the game before you stopped? You stopped at the Ram marker. Oh, that would explain it. So the Arch guy, something I noticed when playing through Trails of Cold Steel 1 is, when you first start playing the game, they very much adhere to a bunch of anime stereotypes. But the further you get in, the more they just explore the various characters. And and suddenly they no longer became their stereotypes and become actual, like, genuine, fleshed out characters that are much more interesting. And I understand, like, the barrier of entry to that is high. You have to go through a lot to get that. Like, a lot of reading, a lot of fairly generic side quests and stuff. But I thought Reen had a good character arc, especially in Trails of Cold Steel 2. Like, in Trails of Cold Steel 1, it got pretty good towards the end, but then in Trails of Cold Steel 2, it just takes it to a whole nother level. Same thing with... like, I love the way Class 7 is written. Class 7 are basically my children. I want them all to succeed. But, yeah, exactly. You're not about to play 50 hours just yet. And that's perfectly fair. I understand that. I'm just talking from the perspective of someone who actually did play through all the first game and enjoyed it so much that I wanted to challenge run the second game and absolutely adored that game. Like, if you ever watch, like, the finale to Trails of, like, the last, like, 25 or 30 minutes of my challenge run of Trails of Cold Steel 2, I gush about the game for almost half an hour. That's how much I liked it. It's, as nice as 2 better. But the thing about 2 is I don't think 2 would be as excellent as it is if it didn't have 1 to kind of set the stage for everything. Because it references the first game very, very heavily in what I think are meaningful ways. But yeah. In addition to Reen and Toa, we also have Fee Clausel, who's like one of the funniest characters I've seen in any video game, while also having a really, really, really interesting character arc. We have Laura Arcide, who has a fascinating dynamic with Fee and how she has to overcome unconscious bias and prejudice despite not necessarily realizing it at first. There's, I think, Machias's arc of learning to be more open into people of noble heritage and seeing them as humans, and Eustace's arc of not running away from his inheritance and his family name and being willing to stand up to his dad. There's Emma's arc of learning how to trust people when she's been so secretive all her life because she had to. I mean, even someone as insanely energetic as Milliam, in the second game especially, has an amazing arc where she learns how to feel emotions, and it's really powerful stuff. Let's see. I'm trying... The thing is like a lot of the stuff I disliked in the first game, like Princess Alvin, for example, the second game does such a brilliant job of redeeming in characters like that I can't really feel like I dislike them anymore. But, and not to mention, from a world building, what was I saying? From a world building perspective, one of the things that's fascinating about Trails is that all like the NPCs, they have unique dialogue after major story events. So it's like as though, so that means like if you pick a single NPC, let's say in Trista, just random NPC in the town, and you speak to them at the start of the game, and then you speak to them in every like subsequent section, they actually have different dialogue because their lives have actually gone on. And every NPC is like that, and sometimes they have unique character arcs that occur because of that happened in the background. I remember in Trails of Cold Steel 2, one of my favorite NPC character arcs was about a character named Mint, who the premise is that she's really, 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 really clumsy, but wants to be a combat engineer. And so she's slowly becoming better at that over the course of the game. But in the meantime, she has this whole subplot where she's trying to get like her Uncle Makarov to date the music teacher, and it's like the funniest thing. And Trails has lots of stuff like that. Like, you don't see that attention to detail in a lot of other RPGs where the NPCs are just kind of there in the background. They don't really do much. But I digress. If I continue like this for too long, the rest of the stream will just be me talking about how much I like Trails of Cold Steel. But suffice it to say, I think for those who have the patience to read a lot and enjoy games with excellent world building and like turn-based combat, then Trails would be right up their alley. But if reading a lot isn't your thing, then I can definitely understand how Trails would be very, very slow. Maybe because it's felt it hard to care about so many people at once. Fair enough. That does make me curious, though, because the one thing about, I mean, while I like having a big ensemble cast that's where each of the characters get their time to shine, I understand it's not for everybody, but I'm curious if there's a game, the next Trails game I intend to challenge run is called Trails 2.0, and I think it might have a smaller main cast. I'm not sure, but at least for like, one of my favorite songs to listen to from the Trails series is called Get Over the Barrier. And like on like the music cover art, there's only ever like, I think maybe 4 characters they show, as opposed to Class 7 having like 9 or 10 characters, depending on what point you are in the game. So it does make me curious if perhaps that'll lead to much heavier focus on a smaller set of characters, whereas, you know, Trails of Cold Steel is all about Class 7. You had zero interest in seeing anyone to see except Gaius use Shield. Gaius is amazing, and you like Marine. I think that's why. Yes, okay. Fair enough. Well, the Archdive, if you find yourself still at least mildly interested in Trails but don't feel like sitting through to actually play it, you know, I will mention like both my Trails of Cold Steel 1 and Trails of Cold Steel 2 challenge runs are on YouTube and in their entirety. So if it's just something you want to watch casually as like a Let's Play or something, that would that might maybe you'd find that a bit more entertaining. At the very least, it's something you could listen to while doing something else you like. Alright, so what was it? Oh yeah, I need to make... a few more things I need to do with this. Yeah, I didn't play it. You're just talking about watching your challenge run a few years back. Oh, I see. All right, fair enough. Well, if you ever feel like continuing to watch it just to see how it goes, but then I personally enjoyed it. I understand it's not necessarily everyone's main interest, but it's. Did you at least get through? You still felt you were getting most of the experience because, like you said, it's more of a visual novel than anything. True. Did you get to Heimdall? The Archdive. So when Heimdall is like the big capital city. You got that far? All right. So you saw the Fee Laura confrontation. What was your thoughts on that? Because to me, that was like such a, and the Imperial Revelation jumps up. So to me, that whole section, I think it was chapter 4. Oh, you didn't like it particularly much? Generic anime stuff. All right, you're entitled to that opinion. For me, I mean, and for the way I was seeing it, I thought the way they were investigating unconscious bias and prejudice was done fairly cleverly, especially with the way it was done in the game's design. Like actually ripping your ability away to hold arc links with the two characters, even though they should in theory synergize very well with each other as two of your best attackers in the game. That combined with the moment where you actually play as them and fight Reen and Machias was, I thought, a very clever way to actually use the game design to reinforce their point. So that always sticks out to me. Let's save that copy. Oh, well, that's not how I viewed it, the Archdive. Like, I understand that's how it started, talent versus hard work. At first, Laura was calling out Fiam when she said, like, she wasn't giving it her all. I remember that. But the deeper you dive into it, that was very much the surface level of it. When you get back to it, what that whole confrontation ended up being as we get into the Heimdall arc is more so, it comes back to the idea of prejudice and unconscious bias. Laura is a knight, and she grew up a fairly privileged lifestyle. And while you like to think, and while she likes to think that she sees others equally and doesn't harbor ill will towards others and wishes everyone else to succeed, when confronted with Fee, who is a mercenary, that completely throws her sense of honor into disarray, because it completely contradicts what she was taught culturally. The idea that mercenaries can't be honorable or things like that. And Fee, on the other hand, she comes from, obviously she was raised by mercenaries, so to her, Laura's world is something that's very distant. The idea of having a loving family, a supporting home, not having to worry about money or where your next meal comes from, that's a very different lifestyle from them. And that's, again, conflicts of cultures, conflicts of experiences was what, to me, made that conflict between the two of them so interesting and fascinating, was because I see. So if you don't find the characters compelling, then you don't care about how their worldviews are changing. All right, you're entitled to your opinion in the Archdive. I'm just saying, compared to a lot of times in media where topics of prejudice are very much only investigated from the perspective of having a character that's like very, very like overtly against a certain group. Think more like Eustace, where it's like just completely abrasive, completely disrespectful, in your face. It's portrayed like that. That's portrayed all the times in media, but very rarely do you see in media what I'll call a slightly more realistic portrayal, or a much more common portrayal, which is the situation where you aren't that overt, abrasive person who just despises a certain group for the sake of it, and yet you have that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach that just something makes you uneasy and you can't quite place it. That's unconscious bias. And that's something that's a lot more people will have than you'd expect. And having to confront that is a very, very, very difficult thing. And Trails of Cold Steel 1 is, at least from what I've played, the only game that ever not only tried to tackle that topic, but handled it very, very well. Anyway, that's why I like the lore and fee section. Because it's basically saying, just because you grew up a certain way, and just because you have these feelings that make you uneasy, and just because you want to run away from those feelings that make you uneasy, doesn't mean that you can't change for the better, or try to challenge those feelings. And in fact, as Reen pointed out, when he purposely denied Fee and Laura's request to just not serve on the same squad together anymore, it's that you have to address it if you want to become your best selves. Alright, so let's see. We're able to put that there. This actually be a good place for our second break, so don't go anywhere, guys. I will be right back. Alright, chat. Hold on, I need to turn back on the music. There we go. Alrighty, chat. Set the tile editing. I wouldn't necessarily say that's a fair comparison, Copper Nicholson. Trails of Cold Steel is a much more tightly and better written story than what we've seen in most of RWBY. Like, I would not compare the two. Not in the slightest. Oh, you redeemed another meme. Where is it? Did I miss it? Oh. Read a message as Fee. Did you know that the terms of human Pokemon companionship is objectively involves HUDs? While max temperature is likely too much for most, they're capable of controlling it. They also have a lot of stuff that has a very high defense stat, and they're resistant to emotional damage. I see, Copper Nicholson. I see. All right. Oh, speaking of Pokemon, chat, does anyone have any information about the Pokemon DLC that's coming out? I'm curious what that's going to entail. The DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Ready?
I don't have a Switch Copper Nicholson. I'm just interested in keeping up with changes in the game. That's all. Well, I'm talking about for the new games, Topper Nicholson, not Generation 7. Or, sorry, not Generation 8. I think maybe Generation 9 at this point. Anyway, let's see here.
Mm-hmm. What was my favorite Pokemon movie? I've only seen a couple of the Pokemon movies, Copper Nicholson. The other one I've seen, it would either be the original one or Pokemon Heroes. However, if you're willing to consider it a Pokemon movie, I would say the Team Flare arc from Pokemon XYZ. What about you, Copper Nicholson? Anyway, the reason why I say I think the Team Flare arc is the overall best, if we consider that a movie, in my humble opinion. Yes, Copper Nicholson. It's... Yep, to me that's the most well done section like that in any Pokemon show, let alone the Pokemon movies. So that whole, we'll say, major last... that major culmination of everything that happened in X, Y, and Z, with Ash and friends and the rest of the region all having to come together to stop Lysander's plan, that was just an incredible climax to the show. You don't remember the most of Team Flare? Copper Nicholson, they basically wanted to commit genocide. That was their motive. They want to decide who gets the right to continue to live in their quote-unquote beautiful Pokemon world and basically kill everyone else. Basically, anyone they considered to be, like, leeches off of, like, the hard work of the technology they created or things like that. But no matter how you spin it, it's what they were essentially trying to do was genocide. All for the sake of racial purity. Or something akin to that in the Pokemon world. Like, if you don't remember Copper Nicholson, I'd highly recommend you look up Lysander's speech. That starred the Team Flare arc. I'd say just rewatch the speech, Copper Nicholson, to familiarize yourself, and you'll see exactly what I meant by that.
It was not. No, Copper Nicholson. What you're thinking, so it wasn't a resource storage issue. It was just plain wanting to choose who they decided who they wanted to stay in the world and who they didn't. I don't remember there being a resource argument to it. It was just simply we have our notion of what is beautiful and what isn't, and everything else should just die. No, Copper Nicholson. I'm talking about what's canon to Pokemon. Anyway. Regardless to say that, especially that last section where like all the gym leaders are working alongside Ash and Alon and the others to essentially charge after the crystal that Lysander's controlling. That if it manages to reach the other crystal, it would cause the mass extinction event. That whole section is just amazing when they stop. The way they all have to work together to stop the final, to stop everything. Well, if your computer's powered for Nicholson, you'd either go rewatch the arc or read up about it. Alright. Alrighty, there we go. Alright, we got this. Oh, I forgot to ask Copper Nicholson. How's the... I think, how goes the Dungeons and Dragons campaign that I think Ian Pluto was trying to set up? What does that mean, Tavern Nicholson? Ah, okay, fair enough. Well, even if you can't run the campaign, yeah, you can still always ask if there's anything you can do to help write some more about your character's backstory, or set up all the character sheets or things like that. Alright, well, look at that, chat. Looks like we finally got this right side all with all the tiles put forth. That's good to see. Alright. I think that'll be a good spot to begin wrapping things up for tonight. So if you're watching on Twitch, feel free to stick around for a break. But if you're watching on YouTube and you like what you saw, please consider subscribing on YouTube. If you're subscribed on YouTube, you can always change your mind there, as we're show support. If you're watching on YouTube, I hope you have an awesome night.